Hi, I'm Carol Fraser, bringing you organic investigations. And tonight, I'm going to be giving you 5 healthy, excuse me, let me turn this down. And tonight, I'm going to be giving you 5 healthy diabetic meal options. Now, before I do, I want you to stay to the very end because I want to give you access to my 40-day detox program. And also, I'll have the recipes of these meals that I'll be mentioning tonight in the description below. And I will also give you entry to my complementary £500 luxury shopping budget. So stay to the very end so you'll know how to get access to that too. So right, let's get started because I'm going to start with a review on vegetarian and vegan diets in type 2 diabetes, management taken from Nutrition Review's publication of 2009. And I'll be mentioning a couple of review studies as well before we get into the 5 meal recipes that I've got for you tonight. Also, I'll also leave a reference from below on a plant-based diet for the prevention of type 2 diabetes published by the PMC, which is PubMed Central Archive for Biomedical and Life Sciences Journal literature at the US National Institute of Health's National Library of Medicine. It's quite a mouthful. So let's get started. Now, diabetes has reached an epidemic proportions affecting 180 million people, cases worldwide. Dietary factors and obesity play major roles in the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, and nutritional changes are a key aspect of diabetes management. Currently, dietary approach for managing type 2 diabetes typically call for limiting carbohydrate intake, limiting intake of saturated and trans fats and cholesterol, and reducing energy intake in overweight individuals. Now, these guidelines are individualized depending on medical conditions, lifestyle, and food preferences. However, evidence from overall observation and clinical studies suggests that plant-based diets offer specific advantages. In randomized trials, vegetarian and low-fat vegan diets have been shown to improve overall glycemic control in the lipid concentrations, the blood lipid concentrations, and body weight in some instances to a greater extent than is achieved with more conventional diabetic guidelines when it comes to dietary guidelines. Now, the review that I'm going to be talking about summarizes observational and interventional studies on the effect of vegetarian diets on type 2 diabetes. But before I go into one of the largest and longest studies, it's important to note that according to nutritionfacts.org, I quote, "We've known since the 1930s that type 2 diabetes can be prevented, arrested, and even reversed with a plant-based diet. Within 5 years of following the diet, about a quarter of diabetic patients in that early study were able to get off insulin altogether." Now, in this 2009 review of observational studies, several studies have reported that diabetes prevalence is lower among vegetarians compared with omnivores. The longest and largest study was carried out with Seventh-day Adventists, who are a population of interest because nearly all of them do not consume alcohol, neither do they smoke. They're caffeine free, and while roughly half are omnivores and half are vegetarians, overall Adventists have only 45% of the diabetes prevalence of the general population. Now, in 3 large Adventist cohort studies, the prevalence of diagnosed diabetes was 1.6 to 2 times higher among non-vegetarians compared with vegetarians or vegans. Further adjustment for body weight reduced the difference just slightly. Now, regular consumption of even small amounts of meat was associated with an increase in diabetes in this population. In a 17-year study of 8,401 Seventh-day Adventists, those who ate meat at least once a week were 29% more likely to develop diabetes compared with those eating no meat at all. Those who consumed any processed meats were 38% more likely to develop diabetes. Long-term adherence over 17 years to a vegetarian diet was associated with a 74% reduced risk of developing diabetes. Other large cohort studies have also reported that meat consumption is associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. Now let's look at some of the observational studies, the intervention trials, in diabetes management. Now, because vegetarian and vegan diets are associated with a lower body weight, increased insulin sensitivity, and reduced risk of diabetes, intervention trials have tested their effectiveness for diabetes management. Now, early studies reported a dramatic decrease in medication use when following a plant-based diet. Subsequent studies demonstrated a greater improvement in insulin sensitivity and glycemic control with a vegetarian diet compared with traditional diabetes diet. Now, you might have tried different ways of eating, and you may even have been diagnosed recently, and it's a tough call in terms of having to adjust your diet when you're suffering with insulin resistance. So I want to share with you 5 of my recipes that I've put together which are diabetic friendly that you can implement in your diet today. So the number 1 is a fiber-rich antioxidant green juice with added minerals and vitamin C. Now, this powerful green juice contains all the good stuff and tastes totally delicious. It contains watercress, sea moss gel for an added boost of minerals. In fact, it contains 92 of the minerals that our body consists of. It also contains apple, ginger, cucumber, and lime. The soluble fiber of these ingredients can help lower glucose levels as well as help lower blood cholesterol. So it's a win-win. Number 2, chickpea and spinach curry with seasoned quinoa and lentil rice. Now this dish makes for a great source of protein and fibre and a very tasty, satisfying meal bursting with full flavour. Chickpeas as well as lentils are well-known foods with a low glycemic index, making them good choices for diabetes. But new research suggests that eating legumes may actually have a therapeutic effect, which is really a true comfort food. Number 3, ground flaxseed porridge with mixed seeds and berries. Now this makes a nutritious, antioxidant-rich, high-fibre breakfast. The fibre slows the rate of digestion and causes a more gradual and lower rise in blood sugar, making this a great breakfast option. Number 4, chocolate chia pudding. Now my chocolate chia pudding is absolutely delightful and the texture is so convincing to a mousse, because what I've done in this recipe to get that high fibre content is to blend the chia seed with the cacao and set it in the fridge and just simply top it with a few berries. And this is great in terms of getting that sugar fix without getting the over sweetness. Now if you want to add a little sweetness to it, there is a syrup called Yacon. Now Yacon is non-calorific and it actually is a good source of sweetener which you can use that doesn't spike your sugar levels. So this is an ideal snack for that time when you just want that little bit of luxury with some sweetness without spiking your sugar levels. So the next one is our buckwheat banana bread. Now, buckwheat is gluten-free, so therefore you're not going to get the starch that's going to spike your insulin levels, which is an excellent choice to have something that's not too sweet and it's not going to leave you hungry because it's a slow burn of high protein and fibre. It's a really easy bread to make and you can have it as a snack, which will just curb your appetite for anything sweet. Now, last but not least, I think that was the last one. In fact, that's my 5 recipes that I've got to offer you. And those recipes you're going to get if you click the description below, and you'll get those recipes tonight. Now don't forget, you've also got the opportunity to enter my draw for a complementary luxury £500 shopping budget. Also, I'm going to be doing a 40-day detox program. Now that detox program is designed for serious health seekers and people like yourselves suffering with diabetes, where I can tweak the plan for you to help you get on track to leading a healthier and substantial diet to make sure that you're getting your minerals and your vitamins and managing your diabetes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.